The Tari Imperium, a vast empire spanning hundreds of star systems, had long ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. Their massive fleets and unyielding will had crushed countless civilizations, subjugating worlds and plundering resources to fuel their insatiable expansion. The Tari were a proud species, convinced of their superiority, and their arrogance was their greatest weapon. For years, Earth had been a footnote in the Tari's records, an unimportant planet with a species that had yet to make any significant mark in the grand scheme of the galaxy. The humans had sent their small, primitive ships into space, sending the occasional probe or satellite, but the Tari dismissed them as a curiosity at best, a species far too young to ever pose a real threat. They believed Earth was a backwater planet, ripe for eventual colonization once the Tari had finished their more important conquests. When the Tari received word of an unusual human fleet gathering near the edge of their space, they laughed. The Tari knew that Earth had been developing more advanced technology in recent years, but their technology was nowhere near the level required to challenge an empire as vast and powerful as the Tari. The fleet was nothing more than a collection of outdated human ships, hastily patched together and hastily assembled, seemingly the remnants of old military programs and civilian vessels. To the Tari, the thought of such a tiny fleet standing up to their might was laughable. "They are insignificant," General Torvak, the supreme commander of the Tari fleet, scoffed. "We will crush them within hours. Their ships can barely fly, let alone put up any real resistance." With this confident assessment, the Tari fleet approached Earth's last known position. They were ready for a quick, easy victory. The fleet that awaited them was small, no more than a few dozen ships, all appearing outdated and poorly maintained. The Tari commanders were unimpressed. They saw nothing but weak, insignificant craft that would be destroyed in moments. But as they moved closer to the human fleet, something changed. For one, the ships didn't retreat. They didn't scatter. Instead, the human fleet moved into position, each ship appearing to align with the others. What seemed like a disorganized collection of junk ships began to form a coherent formation, a line of defense. The Tari were taken aback. They had expected Earth's forces to crumble under the weight of their advanced weaponry, but the humans were not retreating. They were standing their ground. General Torvak watched in confusion as the fleet held its position. No retreat. No surrender. "Why are they not fleeing?" one of his officers asked, perplexed. "They're just human ships," Torvak muttered. "They can't possibly." Before he could finish his sentence, the first volley of weapons fire struck the Tari fleet. At first, the Tari didn't react. It was only after the second barrage that they realized something was horribly wrong. The humans had outfitted their ships with technology that should have been beyond them. The first blasts had been weak, almost laughable, seemingly just warning shots. But as the second wave hit, Tari ships began to buckle. Shields flared and hulls buckled under the force of the blasts. The human fleet, though small in numbers, was armed with advanced weaponry scavenged from a variety of sources, including alien technology they had reverse-engineered from encounters with other species. What the Tari didn't know was that Earth's forces had adapted and perfected this technology, turning it into something far deadlier than the Tari could have ever anticipated. "What is this?" one of the Tari commanders exclaimed as his ship's sensors began to fail, one by one. "These weapons, are they human-made?" The answer was as simple as it was devastating. Yes, the weapons were human-made, crafted by a species that had learned to adapt, evolve, and survive in a way no other species could match. Humanity didn't have the overwhelming firepower of the Tari, but what they had was something far more dangerous: ingenuity, determination, and the will to never give up. The Tari had mocked the human fleet as insignificant, as nothing more than a nuisance to be swept aside. But what they had underestimated was the ability of the human race to fight back. The tiny fleet of human ships was not filled with advanced war machines. It was filled with desperate survivors, every pilot and crew member determined to defend their home, no matter the odds. The battle raged on, and with each passing minute, the Tari were beginning to realize that they had seriously miscalculated. They expected easy prey, but instead, they were encountering a force unlike any they had ever faced before. The human ships fought as a single unit, every ship playing a vital role in the battle. The Tari ships, with all their size, strength, and advanced technology, found themselves struggling to counter the guerrilla tactics of the human fleet. Human pilots, using their knowledge of Earth's terrain and atmosphere, used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly and disappearing into the dark of space before the Tari could retaliate. Smaller, Nimble human ships darted through the Tari formations, making precision strikes on vital systems, while larger vessels launched coordinated attacks that overwhelmed the Tari defenses. Torvok's fleet began to lose ships at an alarming rate. Tari commanders, once confident in their superiority, were now scrambling to regroup. The communication channels buzzed with confusion, and the once immense Tari armada was now splintering under the unexpected assault. "It's not possible. How can they be doing this?" Torvok bellowed in frustration as another ship exploded into flames. What kind of madness are these humans capable of? The Tari fleet, once certain of its victory, was now on the defensive. The battle had shifted. The human ships had transformed the Tari's arrogance into panic. The Tari had believed themselves to be gods of war, but now they were the prey. And then came the final shock. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, pushed into the heart of the Tari armada, using the chaos of their enemy's retreat to launch a final, devastating assault. Human ships, piloted by every man and woman who refused to die quietly, breached the Tari flagship's defenses and planted a payload that would tear the vessel apart. The explosion was enough to cripple the heart of the Tari fleet, sending the remaining invaders into full retreat. The battle was over. What had started as a tiny fleet, an insignificant force, dismissed as laughable by the mighty Tari, ended in a resounding victory. Humanity had not only defended its home, it had shown the galaxy the raw, untamed power of its will. The Tari had underestimated humans once, and they would never make that mistake again. As the remnants of the Tari fleet retreated into the stars, one thing was clear to the galaxy. Earth was not just some insignificant backwater. The humans had earned their place in the stars, and any who dared to challenge them would soon learn just how deadly those tiny fleets could truly be. The Tari had mocked the tiny fleet. Now they would remember the name of the species that had sent them running: humans.